Hello everybody, and welcome to TTV's review of the Ninjago 2016 Special Day of the Departed. I'm Messina.
I'm LJ.
I'm Jonathan.
And I'm Purple.
And let's not waste any time. A little background for people who don't know. Day of the Departed is not a full season of Ninjago. There was a lot of confusion about this. Day of the Departed is a 40-minute special, a little over 40 minutes, chronicling what is the summer 2016 wave of sets, which includes the Rise of the Villains sets and all that. Not Rise, Return of the Villains, where people come back, and it's all the villains from Ninjago's past. Almost like a celebratory way to honor the theme's history. A lot of people have been it took the last hurrah before the movie next year. They're walking through memory lane and stuff. Other people theorize it was because the movie got delayed and they had to make up this wave of set and story to fill the gap. Nobody really knows why this exists and why it's not a full season, but that's the backstory, Day of the Departed. Let's break this thing down. How do you want to begin, guys?
Okay.
I think we should have a summary first.
Yes, tradition.
Like we usually do.
Yes.
Yep.
It's been a long time since our last episode review series.
Yeah,
long time
it feels like
since
it's been
we
almost
did
a
coverage
year
of
or
anything.
something.
Because we kind of dropped off of Nexa Nights, but we really should
terrible
get back
people.
to that. Yes.
I really
we
want to
will
get back
finish.
to Next Nights.
And we'll
real quick.
completely get caught up, and for those asking, we will review every Next Night's episode
Yeah.
we've missed.
But if you want a recommendation, go watch Nexa Nights. So, there you go. Okay, so, Day of the Departed. Starts off, and the ninja, they're trying to get somewhere real fast. It's crazy, it's wild, it's well animated. We actually already seen this. It's the replacement for the intro. And they're trying to get somewhere real quick. Cole, he's fading off. Apparently he does this often, since we've never seen it before. They get to where they need to go, and it's a gift store. It's a gift store that they needed to get to before it closed, so they could get their Day of the Departed lanterns, along with their Day of the Departed lunchboxes and Day of the Departed flamethrowers. The kids love that one. And the Day of the Departed is basically Halloween and just kind of like Memorial Day, kind of intermixed. And so they decide that they're going to reconvene where they are. They meet up with Saunders, who is a
I thought it was Sanders.
Nice, Saunders.
Yeah, it's Saunders, who's a really weird guy. And he
I
shows the
don't know what his
ninja
deal
Wu and Misako the museum. And it's a museum he has made showcasing all the villains that the ninja have fought. Some of them haven't even been unpacked yet, like the Overlord and the Golden Master, who are the same person. But whatever, let's not get into details. So we see the whole villains, and we see all the ones that the ninja have faced off against, Chen, Moro, etc. And the ninja going, okay, that's cool. Let's leave. So they leave, they split off, they go their separate ways. Meanwhile, Cole, they completely forget about him. Because apparently this fading thing happens enough to where they just forget he exists entirely. Well, he sees the Yin Blade, which is right below a painting of Master Yang, not from Ruby. And he hears the painting going, close the circle, or something like that. So he goes, oh, okay, I guess I'll do that. Grabs the Yin Blade, he takes off. Meanwhile, all the ninja, they're doing their separate things. Wu is saying, oh, this is a time that we remember those who have departed. And we see all the ninja hanging out with their friends, family, so on and so forth. Zane is alone. And then we see Cole, and he's doing his thing. He's just driving out in the middle of nowhere. Meanwhile, we see the Royal Blacksmiths. That's right, them again. Cole's father and his band, his, what do you call it? A barbershop quartet?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Hilarious.
What were they called? Actually, I forget. The four blacksmiths or something like that?
Royal Blacksmiths.
Royal Blacksmiths.
Royal
Did we
Blacksmiths,
just say that?
Just did that. So anyway, so we see them singing, they're having a good time. Really funny. And then Dareth comes in, he's their manager. That shouldn't be a surprise. Apparently they're doing a big concert, so they just start singing and it's, of course, really funny. Cole gets to his destination, which is the base of the Temple of Air Jitsu, which for some reason is floating. He doesn't acknowledge it. Nobody makes any mention of it. It's just floating, so that's great. So he Air Jitsu's up there and meets with Master Yang, and he's like, I'm gonna beat you now, because I got this Yin Blade. And Yang's like, oh no, what am I gonna do? Thrust, and Cole smashes a pot. The moon shines on the pot, and then this green mist comes out, so it looks like the beginning of that one Spider-Man game. And Yang is like, I tricked you, this is all part of my plan. The green smoke, it envelops the entire place, all of Ninjago, and it brings these mannequins to life. It brings the departed back to life. Now, it's only people that have died. For instance, they have a statue of, what's his name? Snake guy? White snake guy?
Pythor.
But the statue doesn't come to life. Pythor is just there, conveniently. Convenient is going to be a word we use very often. So, they all come to life. They talk to the painting. The painting goes, okay, you have to kill the ninja that killed you. Not in those words. And then you can stay in the real world. And so they bicker about it, they fight, and then they go off to do their thing. Thankfully, the stone army goes after Dareth, which is funny. So they all split off in their different directions, and thus begins the antics that ensue.
Oh, boy.
Meanwhile, Cole,
boy.
he's up there. He got captured by what I assume to be a bunch of people dressed as ghosts, because they're all ninja in white garb. And he's captured. He's all by himself. He fights them all. He fights his way through the entire complex, breaks out of the chains, and he goes to fight Yang. Meanwhile, Yang, he's taking the Yin Blade, and his plan is to open a rift through dimensions so he can hop through and become alive again. Because this can only happen during this very specific eclipse that only happens every, 3,721 years. So,
Saturated exactly. Whoa.
mm-hmm. So, he's doing his thing, Cole's fighting, antics are ensuing, the choreography is through the roof. Well, no one actually goes through the roof, but they're in the attic, so it's close to. And then all of a sudden, Cole, he breaks in, he's finally fought all of these ninja over and over and over and over again, he finally gets there and he's exhausted, he's like, I'm gonna stop you, and yeah, he's like, you're alone. Meanwhile, down on the ground, weird things are happening. Pythor, he goes after Misako and Lloyd, and for some reason, does not actually do anything useful. The skeleton guy, whose
really
name I
weird
forget,
one.
he
Yeah.
goes after Jay and his parents. Chen goes after Nia and Kai. And the robot guy, whose name I forget, goes after
Cryptor.
Zane. Cryptor, thank you. And so they're fighting, and long story short, the ninja win through contrived means. And back up at the temple, we see that Cole, he's having a hard time fighting Yang, and they're doing their thing, and Yang's like, you're alone, I'm fading, oh no! Well, by this point, the ninja, they've beat all their villains, they've come together. Moro, who is good apparently, he tells Wu, by the way, here's what Yang's plan is, you should probably go stop him. And they get into Destiny's Bounty, they go up there, and they're like, Cole, you're not alone! Cole's like, I'm not alone! Deus Ex Machina! And breaks the Yin Blade, freeing all of Yang's friends. And they, students. And they jump to the rift, and they're alive again. It's like, yeah, we're young! And so, we get a pity party with Yang. Cole tries to bring him back, but then Yang's like, no, there's actually a curse that nobody told me about, but it means that I have to stay here alone. Go through the rift! Woof! Throws him through the rift. Cole is back, everyone! He's human
About
again!
time.
We just spent the last 40 minutes fixing something that was a big deal! So he's human again, we have set relevance for the Temple of Airjitsu set, everyone is happy, and a year passes! We get a year time skip where apparently nothing happens! And that's it.
Okay.
Oh boy.
Well,
So-
do we know exactly a year has passed?
Yes.
Is that, do we
Assuming
know
Day
that?
of the Departed is an annual thing like the other holidays, and like
Well,
Our
I mean, like, I'm assuming he didn't wait 3,000 years for next, like...
No.
the
The
annual
day,
times.
the day
But-
of the Departed is annual. It's the eclipse that happens every 3,000 years.
Yeah,
because
well,
at the
here's what
very
I'm
end,
saying.
they're
there was a
around
break where Cole was saying stuff, and then it cut to a scene of him at the campfire, and he's like, "When was I right or was I right?" And Jay was like, "Are you gonna tell this story?"
Well, that's what I'm
every day
saying.
of the Departed?"
If he's like, are you going to tell this story every day of the Departed? And I was like, oh, has he been telling it, like, several times beforehand? And that's why he's like, dude, are you going to tell this every time we have a Day of the Departed? Not, like, the one time it happened last year?
Okay,
Because
maybe
he hasn't had
longer than a
anything
year.
there.
That's a good point.
Yeah, that's
Which-
what I was wondering.
Which means that's
That'd be
even
even
worse.
Well, okay, let's talk about what was cool about the episode, and then, like, what
I
the
like
problems they
Front
had
load
with
it
it.
with positivity.
I
Yeah,
really
let's
liked
front
the
load
end
it.
credits because, like, seeing all the endless stream of lanterns and stuff was quite pretty.
Oh,
Well, no, I had like an actual thing. It wasn't just it's done
I
finally.
like the
I
end
thought-
credits.
I thought you were. It sounds pretty bad. It's like, oh, I liked it when I saw the credits.
No.
It's finally
And I
over.
also like the concept of like each ninja fighting like their own villain, sort of as a type of callback. And yeah,
It was
I
really cool
liked-
seeing old villains, and
Yeah.
I do I feel like it was a nice callback. I recently marathoned Ninjago, with the help of these guys, and so like
Yo.
they're more fresh for me. So so I can assume for people who have seen, I don't know how many years ago it was when Ninjago first came out, but like people who have stuck with the series all the way through is probably really rewarding to see these characters back again.
It's been, I believe, 6 years since Ninjago came out. Didn't it come out in 2011?
yeah, that's when it first started.
So yeah.
Okay, in that case, this could almost be looked at as like a 5-year anniversary kind of a celebration, or rather 5 years of Ninjago. Unless it would be 5-year anniversary, I don't know. But either way, it's like it is
The TV
kind
show
of a
started
milestone.
2012, so
It's kind of a milestone. Either way, the cake is cut. As far as what I liked how my headcanon for this, headcanon being the key word because I don't actually know, but I'd wager it's true. This was made because the movie got delayed. It was a way to fill a spot that would have been taken up by movie sets, and they just needed to come up with something. And if that was their constraints, which I don't know, then it was pull off pretty well because they had to make a convincing wave of sets, but also not use too many new ideas because they were on a timetable. And they also managed to spin it into remedying two of the biggest recent problems with Ninjago. Number 1 being Cole's a ghost, and it's stupid. And number 2 being the Temple of Air Jitsu set, which is billed as the flagship set, has no relevance to anything whatsoever. Both of those things were remedied by this show. So, because of that, I do kind of like it. And then as far as the other stuff I like, it was cool seeing all the villains come back and whatnot. And there were some cool
There's some
pieces
good dialogue,
of music
some funny
in the background,
some funny
and
stuff.
some funny comedic moments, and some
Yeah.
self-aware dialogue bits. It had that standard Ninjago wit to it.
was it a
Elder,
weekend?
what about
whip?
you? Would you like?
I definitely like the wit. I like the humor. I did like the concept of them fighting the villains I fought in the past. I thought that was fun to see. I did enjoy... The animation is always good. I wouldn't necessarily say the choreography was on point, but there were some moments that were just really, al dente. And the music. Definitely the music. Oh, goodness.
Music was good.
When
Music was
when
good.
the
Music's
green
always good, though.
smoke was drifting through the streets, the twanging music was so good. And I've been listening to Day of the Departed by The Fold the last couple of days. It's really been it's been stuck in my head.
They do
So-
good stuff.
They-
And like
they
it was like a
do.
variant of Moro's theme or whatever, like that song that played when Moro first showed up and was wrecking the ninja when he was on screen. So that was cool. Little
Yeah.
bits like they're recognizable.
So really what I liked was the standard for Ninjago. The standard Ninjago stuff that we see in usual seasons. It's always really well done. It's always enjoyable. They always do a really nice job with it.
I haven't been on for most of these coverages because I only recently watched Ninjago, but I have really enjoyed the show up until now. Definitely, I think so far for me, the Tournament of the Elements has to be my favorite season. But I've been
Totally.
really enjoying the show as it's been going on.
I'm with you.
Okay, so can we? It's easier to talk about stuff that you dislike than what you do like. I'm gonna preface this just in case people are like, "Oh, you guys are hating. We love Ninjago. You like all this stuff more than we know." But it's easier to pick apart some stuff that's kind of stands out to you.
Especially by our nature, we're very analytical people.
I made some notes.
Oh my
I made
gosh.
notes too. I made a big list
I made
of
notes.
notes.
Okay.
Okay, the one
All right,
time
all
I
right.
don't take notes.
Okay, all right.
So yeah, that's the good disclaimer to have because
yeah.
we all love Ninjago.
Love
Ninjago is my
Ninjago.
favorite
Okay.
currently ongoing theme. So if
Yeah,
anyone
definitely.
happens to see this that worked on
Outside
this,
of
I understand
superheroes.
the constraints that you may have been
my
under
favorite theme.
in developing it.
Yeah, right.
So
I'm
even
sure that
still,
I'm sure there
gotta
was
be
a lot of
honest.
stuff going out that we don't know about. Okay, so
How do you even want to start? You got something that bugged you?
this is something that's really kind of big. Does nobody know what an eclipse actually is? Because apparently someone at LEGO thought, oh, eclipse means cloud go over the moon, I guess.
There wasn't even clouds. It was just like this weird dark aura encasing the moon.
I don't understand what was going on. Like, I mean, if you've seen a solar eclipse or a lunar eclipse, you understand that it doesn't look anything like that. The moon's just, I guess, like, what they mean by eclipse just means the moon turns a different color and there's magic stuff that goes over it.
By eclipse, what I thought it meant by a yin-yang eclipse was that there were these two, like, green half moons on either side that would constantly get bigger and bigger until they just engulfed the actual moon. You know, like, it starts out with a regular moon and there's, like, the stuff on the side, like yin-yang, and it just gets bigger to where it, like, forms the full circle. When Yang was saying close the circle, that's what he was referring to. Like,
I mean, okay, alright, except, like, do we see 3 moons in, like, the other episodes? Because there has to be some time where we see the moon, and it's not an eclipse, you know?
No.
Oh, hey, surprise, there's, like, 2 other moons now.
Also, apparently, like, you know, it doesn't take that long between solar and lunar eclipses on our Earth. What is the deal with it taking 3,000 years for another eclipse, apparently?
Well,
I guess it might be
another
yin-yang
eclipse.
Fair enough. But,
not
like,
a regular
what is
eclipse.
What does that mean? Like, what does that mean? Is the moon coming in front of the sun? Is the sun coming in front of the moon? What's eclipsing what?
It's the yin in front of the yang.
I mean,
is it,
I don't know. While that's a fair point, you gotta keep in mind, these guys can control the elements, so...
I know, I'm saying that, like, cool.
Ninja of the moon.
If you want to call it, like, oh, it's the magic moon thing that happens every Day of the Departed, or every 3,000 years for Day of the Departed, call it the magic moon thing, just don't call it an eclipse when it's very clearly not an eclipse. It's like if they said, like, oh, you know, I control the element of, you know, like, of fire, and he shoots out water, and you're like, okay, clearly that's not fire. Just call it water. I don't know why you have to,
what if it's, like, superheated liquid, like magma or something?
Then
I mean, I guess
call it
it's, like,
magma.
still magma, but, like...
Saunders has a diagram of the eclipse and what exactly it is.
Okay, let me see this.
I don't have a picture. It's just in the video.
I was just in the video? Awesome. Okay, well, that's just my thing. I was like, you know, it's kind of like they make a huge deal about, oh, the eclipse is tonight, and it's like, oh, but
it's just because the moon is, like, quote-unquote covered.
Maybe it's like the convergence.
thing.
You know, like in Thor 2, where all the worlds and 9 realms were, like, in alignment? Maybe how many realms in Ninjago? 14?
There's 16.
16? 16 realms were all, like, aligned. That's why it takes
Speaking of
3,000 years.
Here's what I got a problem. So, here's what happened. There was an underworld where people go when they get banished, I guess. Initially, we thought it was for dead people, but really, I guess it's just banishment because Garmadon was cast down to the underworld and he became a skeleton dude. Then we were introduced.
That's death. Come on, what? You give a skeleton dude to the underworld?
I kind of know where you're going with this. The underworld is like a banished realm. Cursed realm is where I think it's like a higher level of banishment and or dying as a bad person. And then the departed realm is just where anyone goes to die.
Okay,
Yeah.
right, okay. So it's like this,
so
like Dante's Inferno.
I
where
was
there's, like,
saying
layers.
that there are 3 realms of death. The Cursed Realm, Underworld, and the Departed Realm, even though the Underworld isn't technically a realm, I don't think. It's just a place. They mention here that they have been brought back from the Departed Realm. They mention that specifically. The villains were in the Departed Realm, or Yang says, like, I brought you back from the Departed Realm, whoever. So, here's my question. Chin died, and he was in the Cursed Realm. Does the Cursed Realm no longer exist because the Preeminent was sunk in water? And
I think so, because...
Did they then get sent to the Departed Realm?
I love the concept of entire realm going, alright guys, we gotta pack up shop. We're relocating you.
Time to move.
Please go this way.
mean,
like, please follow the directions to the right to the Departed Realm. We are evacuating this realm immediately.
So from here on out, I'm not going to
gone.
call the Departed Realm the Departed Realm. I'm going to call it the Permadeath Realm. Except it's not because they got brought back, but it's the actual they're dead for real this time, guys. I swear, realm. And the other 2 are just like old stuff.
People
That's my
just
biggest problem.
People just like barely die in Ninjago. There's always like other realms and other ghosts and other ways to like bring people back. It's like Garmadon's come back from like a ton of different realms several times now, it seems.
Right.
And now
Yeah, I mean, like,
I'm
can you
glad
imagine-
he's like permanently dead.
Can you imagine if there was like an actual way to just have portals from like the afterlife into the world now? Like how different would you live your life if you knew, oh yeah, you know, like these people come back as ghosts like all the time, or they're like banished to this realm and they can come back through this realm. Like that would that'd be kind of a life changer.
Here's another stupid inquiry that I noticed.
Okay.
Cryptor. He's a robot.
Yeah, I
With me on this point?
that's in my notes too.
Wasn't he reprogrammed?
To have a soul? I don't
No,
think
like
so.
reprogrammed to be a good guy.
No!
No,
He wasn't.
Actually, to be honest, I don't even remember what happened to him.
Yeah,
He fought Mindroid right at the end there, like Nia sicked Mindroid on him.
Right.
Right. Okay, I remember that now.
Yeah.
Okay,
it was-
so
And what happened
that's in
to
my
those
notes
two?
too.
Because like I know all the Ninjoids got like reprogrammed to like guard the realm crystal or whatever.
Yeah, you are right about that. The other random Nindroids.
And so, has
yet
he-
There was also a hall of sidekicks that had Nindroids that didn't get reprogrammed to guard their realm crystal. That also had souls that Yang was able to summon. As
Yeah,
well.
I have no idea how that works. Like how he's able to bring back.
Well, how do we know that like he summoned souls? Maybe Cryptor just like turned them on.
Okay.
Well, but we saw the green thing go
Yeah.
inside him, though.
Yeah, when the Nindroids got blown up. When the Nindroids got blown
hold
up,
up.
their souls like left
I
their
do
body.
have one
Ah,
minor
good
note
point.
before this. Beginning of this, they're driving. They're like doing the awesome montage to go, and they're running, and they have to get their Day of the Departed stuff before the store closes. All right. About like 10 minutes later, Dev is like, "Hey guys, I want to remind you, there's merch all the way in the back. Get your Day of the Departed stuff here." It's like, "Oh, thanks, Dev."
No, that wasn't Day of the Departed stuff. That was blacksmith stuff. Royal blacksmith.
Didn't he say Day of the Departed stuff though?
He might have said like Day of the Departed Royal Blacksmith or whatever.
Okay.
Like, specific themed.
Whatever.
Because he was saying,
Very
"Prove
minor
you're a
note.
real
That's not really like
fan."
Yeah.
Right. That's very minor now.
What's the bread and butter?
Okay,
Oh, shit.
Cole.
It's
Are you
Cole
waiting for me to go,
and
or
the
it's like
entire
okay.
situation regarding the ghosts, because
Right.
we need to really think about this here.
Okay.
It's dumb.
So Yang's entire plan is to hope that Cole is at a new museum that he just
Right.
so happens to have his magical weapon and a painting of himself at. Tell Cole something super vague, which he hopes Cole will translate as "bring this weapon to me" up at the floating temple of air jitsu, which nobody is going to mention, despite that all being retconned. Then come and fight me, assume this is going to destroy me, and then I will somehow manage to position myself in front of a pot, which for some reason I can't break, to where it is properly positioned to where the moon is going to shine on it and spread a bunch of dust all across Ninjago.
Right. Okay, so
Not a
like,
good plan.
yeah, it's like not a good plan. That really was like the big deal where it's like, okay, one, so Sensei Yang, he cannot leave this temple. I'm assuming, right? That's why he's
Yeah.
still stuck there.
Yeah.
But
Trapped.
Cole can. It's the
Why?
same enchantment. Why?
Exactly.
Number two, all right, maybe he doesn't. How does he how does he know about the museum? Is he connected to that painting always? And if so, how did they get that painting?
Is he connected to other paintings?
It's like
it,
part of his soul
can he,
inside
like,
the
see
Yang or Yin
can he
blade
see
that he
things
just
in the world?
transferred it to the
What
painting.
if it
Dumb.
isn't a painting, but what if it's just like likenesses of him? So some kid dresses up as Sensei Yang for Day of the Departed, and then all of a sudden he says to Mom, "Hey Mom, can you close the rift, close the circle?"
The circle.
And it's like
Actually-
also really, really vague stuff that he's hoping Cole pick up on and be like, you know what I'm going to do? Kill that one guy. That's what I'm going to do. Even though I've never
Yeah, I
done
got
it
a
my entire
question.
life.
I was saying earlier that maybe close the circle was referring to the eclipse and how like the circle closes to like fully eclipse the moon, but Cole didn't do anything regarding the eclipse. So what does
was
that
the
mean?
circle?
What does he
Yeah.
mean? That's like a marketing term they're throwing around too. Like that's like the
Is it just
tagline.
close the circle of stupidity revolving around Cole being a ghost?
Yeah, close the plot holes. Close the
Plot hole.
I don't understand what that's supposed to mean or why that was.
You know
told to
what?
Cole.
The story is actually way better if you see the rift as an actual plot hole. And Cole's like, guys, I can get out. You guys can all get out too, students of Master Yang. And before the writers notice, go. Like, there's if you think about it, there are actual writers in the canon of Ninjago. There's people that write stuff. So maybe they are taking advantage. Maybe the eclipse is just a giant plot hole that comes every 3,000 years when they the writers will take a break or something from the writer's room. I mean, not in the Cloud Kingdom. What's it called?
Yeah.
Cloud Realm? Whatever. And that's
Cloud Cuckoo Land.
Cloud Cuckoo Land. And they're all able to just jump through that, you know?
I like
Maybe.
that, and I do like this a lot more. I like this whole special a lot more when I look at it from the meta perspective. It only exists to do blank, to make Cole a human,
Now,
to give the temple
Maybe
some importance.
That's
maybe
another
Master
part
Yank's
of it.
entire plan. Go on.
That's another part of the whole Cole ghost situation. So he's fighting Yang, and he's going, I feel like I can destroy or punch through anything. And he somehow, his hands glow
Right, okay,
orange.
Never
what is that?
explained.
He gets patterns on his arms. That's never explained or touched upon again.
On my notes, that's a question mark because I did not see Skybound, and I didn't know if I haven't yet caught up with Skybound. I didn't know
That has
if
no relevance. That's the first time
okay,
that's
no
ever
relevance. So literally, Cole just gains the Iron Fist right then and there.
Yeah, it reminds me of the unlocking your true potential stuff from the first season or whatever. But why would that happen now? And why is it only his
Why
arms?
didn't he do it
maybe he just
before?
got over his depression.
Why didn't he do it when he was fighting Nauticon?
The reason I don't care too much about that is because Bionicle did the exact same thing not 3 months ago with Pohatu's magical
right. So
rock
because Bionicle did it, automatically makes it
transformation.
good. Right, of course.
It doesn't make it good. I just don't care about it because it's a
That
common
was an
Lego
issue
thing.
with Bionicle
It's always with the rock
too.
guys.
But Bionicle's over now. Ninjago isn't. So
I'm just saying it's a common Lego thing, random,
it doesn't
unexplained
make it
power
less
ups.
bad though.
yeah,
Like-
it's still dumb. The other thing
As long
is,
as it's explained by something, and even if it's a stupid thing where he realized his true potential rather than that moment, that would be one thing. But all he does is realize that he does have friends, which he's known this entire time and only just forgotten because he's begun to fade out. So I don't know what realization unlocked in him that gave him that power, or why he's
Did he
able to have this power.
Realize
or,
that after? I thought he realized he had friends after he got the power
Oh,
up.
maybe.
And then
No, I think it was he realized he had friends beforehand. He heard you know what? Maybe it was Nia calling out to him, and he realized if I fade out now, Jay's totally gonna get Nia.
Oh my
I can't let that happen.
God.
And it's the power of jealousy that comes in.
so since you haven't seen Skybound yet,
Skybound.
Right.
yeah, nah. But
Okay.
another
Speaking
thing,
of-
another thing I noticed when the students go through the rift and they come back. First of all, they're all the exact same look they had when they originally got cursed. So, however many years have passed, they haven't aged a day. They're like the Captain America squad. The other thing is, touching on their appearance, they're untouched. Cole has now a scar above his left eye.
And
Why?
Gang,
Isn't that because of the magic thing, though?
What do you mean?
Was that
maybe
because
he
of the magic
just
thing, the
didn't
scar?
get into
Or
all
was
of
it
the rift in time, and so it closed on his forehead
Oh,
and
yeah,
left a mark.
Well, I mean, additionally, too, I feel
Probably what it is.
for me, do the ghosts age while you're a ghost? Is
Yang
that something
did.
that happens?
Yeah,
Yeah,
he
he did.
grew a
He
beard.
totally did. Whoa. Okay, yeah, that's stupid. That doesn't make any sense. Hey, also, now this is just from my I got the Airjitsu Temple and I was reading it, and it said that eventually Master Yang was known as the Master without students. Isn't that a thing?
Master
That, there's
without students.
That's true now.
Yeah.
I mean, it's true now, but wasn't. I mean, it might just be in the instruction manual. Let me go see if I can find that real quick. But I remember reading that, eventually, because he scared everything away, and they're oh, he's just a master without students. And, that's what he became to be known as, because he was, frightening or whatever.
I mean,
But
it might have
apparently that
scared people, but
didn't
they
happen.
didn't go away.
Okay,
And
fair enough.
speaking of which, oh yeah, set relevance.
Finally,
I'm
that
Yeah.
happy
was,
about
that was rewarding. I wanted to wait until the end to talk about that. But yeah, Airjitsu Temple being,
Yeah.
the new
It
headquarters.
looks
that's
it looks
great.
so much better than it did originally when it was first introduced.
Oh yeah. And it's
Remember
very
me-
ironic
me
we
and Vi were
we
arguing
recently
about-
discussed that on
complaining about
Brickfeed.
Yeah, we were
Yeah.
is this it? Is this the Airjitsu Temple? And now that it, we realize it's the new headquarters for the ninja, I'm really excited about that.
Yeah.
Totally.
Um,
Speaking of the Airjitsu Temple, it's already been mentioned, but I just gotta address it in a formal way. I understand the whole Skybound thing and the floating temple, but nobody even mentioned it.
Yeah.
So
It's oh,
I
hey,
gotta
this thing is
wonder,
floating. That's
within
probably
the
normal.
context of Skybound, it's like, do people just always assume that the temple was floating? Does that like retroactively affect their memories, or are they just like, oh yeah, that's a thing? I don't know. How
I mean, they might just not even like.
To be fair,
question.
To be fair, in Ninjago before, here's what happened. There's a weapon that ages people up and like, or not ages people up. Yeah, doesn't it age people up?
Well, it grants a wish that you can't destroy, and he used it to age up. Actually, no, it wasn't even the weapon. It was the tea
we
that
always
aged Lloyd
forget
up.
this. It was the tea that aged him up.
The tea ages him up.
The
The weapon just made them younger.
Yeah, okay, so the mega weapon starts this whole thing where it makes everyone younger, and then this whole deal happens, alright. And then they go back in time, and then they, like, destroy the weapon, and so now the weapon doesn't exist, and they don't know about it, except Lloyd is still somehow grown up, and literally no one asks him, like, why are you grown up again if none of this stuff happens? And that's
the flip side of that is somehow people still remembered the mega weapon, even when they shouldn't. But nobody remembers the temple, even though they should. It's like, it's not consistent in its forgetfulness. The show just, like,
it's fair.
casts away stuff that isn't important. Anyway. What else? I guess you should state some obvious stuff, like the pacing was not good.
Oh my god, the pacing was garbage.
I was gonna be nice and say it wasn't good. But
wow, yeah. No.
I'm sorry. I'm like,
I wouldn't say garbage.
As far as like writing goes, I'm very conscious of like pacing and stuff. So watching this was kind of hard.
Describe, like, expound on that a little more. What you felt was off about the pacing?
The battles were just like so. Like, it just cut away too often, which, I mean, I can understand because you're juggling, like, 6 different viewpoints within, like, an hour. But, like, the fights ended so abruptly, too. It's just like, oh, there, you're defeated all of a sudden.
Pythor was, like,
instantly.
I think, like, the worst example of this. Where, like...
Pythor just... Oh, my God, Pythor.
Pythor, like, really was... I don't understand what he was doing.
I don't either. Was he trying to kill himself?
Well, I don't even know what he's doing here. Like, he just wanders into the museum at the right place at the right time. After it's closed, so I guess, like...
My favorite thing with Pythor, and by favorite thing, I mean this was the worst part about that whole confrontation, is when he's at the edge of, like, the quote-unquote cliff, he's like, it is time for me to make my grand exit. And he just falls backward off of the cliff, and he goes... and he
was he wearing a parachute?
And
he's Captain America, so no.
And then Lloyd looks over, he goes, you think he's gone for good now? Well, he's right there! You think he's gone?
You can see him.
He's right there. And then later, all of the ninja, they've grouped back up in the city, and Lloyd finishes their sentence by going, and you saw their ghosts fly away. How did you know that?
Yeah, you didn't
You were the only one who didn't even see that.
There wasn't a ghost of yours that flew away.
To be fair,
it's just Pythor apparently being indestructible.
Ninja might have told him that story where they were waiting for Jay to come up, because Jay's like...
It doesn't make any sense how Lloyd wouldn't just look over the cliff and see Pythor. It doesn't make any sense how Pythor is just hanging around the Villain Expo at a convenient time. It doesn't make sense how Pythor had no plan whatsoever. He just kind of did stuff. And anybody who is... Yeah, I can't even talk. I'm so frustrated. People actually say Pythor is like one of the best villains in Ninjago. Anybody who has that opinion needs to rethink their stance on that.
Well, he was in season 1,
He's
okay?
a joke. He's an incompetent, and he can't be taken seriously.
I don't know. I think sometimes Pythor can be really effective. The issue is
when.
Well,
he's
like
used
Purple
for comedy
just said,
a lot.
Season 2.
Yeah.
I enjoy Pythor the same way I enjoy Chang.
Chen.
Where it's Chen. You're right.
Sensei Chang. The epic.
Chen and Yang fuse. Sensei Chang.
Chang. The ultimate
I'm thinking of the guy from Community, I guess. Chen, like...
Close the noodle bowl.
Chen is, like, very much played up for laughs, but I enjoy seeing him on screen. I would say he's one of the best villains, just from an enjoyability standpoint. I don't know
I
if, like,
enjoyed him a
he's the
lot
most
in
formidable
Tournament of
weapon.
Elements after rewatching that, but I don't know what was up with him here. He didn't do it for me. Like,
okay, now here's a note I have about Chen. So there's a point where he ambushes Nia and
Kai.
And Kai, thank you. And he's pressing all the buttons, and he doesn't know what all of them do. Ha
What
ha
about
ha!
that-
It's comedy. There's
Okay,
a
yeah.
flower that pops up, and the flower sprays water, and I'm like, oh, doesn't that kill him? Apparently not. Oh, maybe he gets to go in front of him. No, it bounces off him. Though you see the water bounce off his like side and like fall to the ground, and you're like, is that not a thing anymore where water instantly kills ghosts?
I guess it's because they're different ghosts.
So urn ghosts are more solid. Then also, why can how can you phase through some things and pick up some things?
You gotta keep in mind, we can tell they're different ghosts because the ghosts of that one season, they were defeated by water. These ones, they were defeated by hitting the ground.
Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah, they were got like the statues
somehow.
From the museum too.
Cryptor was gone so quick, I didn't even know how he got defeated.
Well, okay, no. Okay, I actually get the hitting the ground thing because like they are technically different in the sense that no. Okay, I'm actually just realized how it makes sense. Okay, they possess the statues, right? And that's why whenever they crashes, that's why it's like a house for them. Yeah, all right. Did you say that, Purple?
Sorta.
I
said
sorry.
they
sorta.
But here's my thing with the pacing. Harkening back to that real quick, the pacing wouldn't have been so bad had they just done it a little bit better, because they wasted a lot of time. With Chen's stupid antics, while they may have been funny to some younger members of the audience, and I can see how they would have been, like the first time we see him pressing all those buttons, yeah, I kind of chuckled. That was a little bit funny. But when they did it the second time, that wasn't necessary. They could have spent more time lengthening certain scenes, or at least replacing them with something a little bit more substantial.
I will agree. A show like this, a special like this, with this kind of a story, it doesn't have time for filler. That's the thing.
Like it's not
and
a season.
There was a lot of it in this episode. So much so that when it came to the important parts, you could tell they were rushed. Like, for instance, Morrow. He's not in any of the sets, by the way. He's not a part of the Day of the Departed, promotional material.
No,
I think he was in one of the trailers, but he's been kept, secret. A lot of people didn't even know Morrow was going to be in it. And I can totally see why, because he doesn't really have a reason to be. He's there as just that he pops in. I know I'm going to mess with Wu a little bit. I'm going to troll him. Bad. Very bad.
Oh, no.
Bad. And I'm like, what are you, the Book of Monsters?
Bad, very bad. He said it so many times.
The Book of Monsters from Nexo Nights. And then he's like, oh no, wait, I'm gonna be... Yeah, and then he's like, oh, I'm gonna be your friend now. I'm just gonna tell you the exposition and then leave.
Hey, Woo, there's some monsters out loose.
And he's gone just as quickly as he came.
I love, I would like to see, by the way, unrelated, I'd like to see how necessarily some of the ghost stuff, how people know some of the ghost stuff. For instance, okay, so at the ending here, we get the backstory for Yang for the first time.
Yes,
I believe, right? Was that
that's all
new? Anywhere else? Okay, that's all new. So the idea was that he created Airjitsu, and then I guess he wanted to create Life Jitsu or something because he
just wanted to be immortal.
Yeah, I know.
He wanted to be remembered.
So he takes a weapon, starts spinning it around, and he's able to give life to everything. And he's like, "This is great. I'm gonna try it on me." And something went wrong, and then he's now cursed to be a ghost, and everyone on the temple is cursed to be a ghost. Okay, that happened a long time ago. Nothing's changed about that, right? At the very end, he is going up, and Cole's like, we're gonna both go. We're gonna go into the rift, and we're gonna settle this. And he's like, no. The curse says that the one person has to be the master of the house. How do you know that? Someone didn't perform the curse on you. You did it by accident. So how do you know that someone always has to be in the house? How? Where did that come from? Obviously, you didn't know about, any curse, because if you knew about it, you wouldn't have done it. It's all an accident for you. So how do you know that there's a thing tied to, the house and you?
Maybe all his students tried leaving, and then he also tried to leave, but he couldn't.
Well, okay, but the other students are also there, and if students can't leave, then why don't he just go down and get the weapon himself? Why does he need to send Cole up here to do it?
Close the circle.
Now that is a thing, though. One part of that, the whole scenario you were talking about, Kahi, where he did not know, how would he have known what the curse is? One thing I am happy about is that they did not give it a total and complete happy ending, because that could have been a really great opportunity to take the villain and go, you're redeemable. we can bring you over and everyone will be happy, so you get what you want despite all the suffering you've caused. But they didn't do that. They did make the villain, earn his comeuppance.
I do like that.
I'm happy about that.
I do like that, that how it ended in terms of
I mean,
what
he
you're
kind
saying.
of earned his comeuppance. It's more like he realized what he was doing was wrong, and he sacrificed himself in a hero move. Because he very easily could have kicked Cole back down there and gone in the rift, but instead he threw Cole up.
How crazy would it have been in the end if Yang betrayed Cole and made him the Soul Ghost, and then
I
came
kind of would
back,
have liked that.
and it's like he's like, all right, new season, everybody. I'm back and I'm alive, and I'm gonna life jitsu the everything out of you guys. I mean, he's like, I did the best martial art, air jitsu, and then I wanted to create a new martial art, and then he's like talking about life, and I'm like, oh, is this life jitsu? Is that what you're talking about here? Because let's not take away from the fact that air jitsu is a really kind of stupid name, because jitsu is
I know,
a word in another language in air.
I think there is a much better name, Cyclondo.
Cyclondo. That's actually not too bad.
Good old
I do
Jay
actually
and his
like that
comedy.
one.
Thank you.
Well, couple more things, just random observations. If they're all spirits brought back, why is Cryptor green but his sidekicks aren't? Why is the
that was
Stone
for all
Army
of them.
dude green?
All of
and
the
his
sidekicks weren't
aren't?
green.
Yeah, I don't know why. Why that happened. Also,
why does the Helmet of Shadows control the mooks but not Kozu if all of them are spirits?
The robot guy. What's his name again? The robot.
Cryptor.
Cryptor, right? So Cryptor has he been seen since season 3?
No.
Okay. So when Zane is there and they're fighting, and he says, "I have your programming. I know what you're gonna do." And Zane goes, "How about this?" And he does air jitsu. That should have thrown him off, right? Because he doesn't know about Aijutsu at all. When he's like, everything you know, I know. How?
They share their brains over Wi-Fi.
Yeah, but it's not a brain. It's a soul inhabiting a,
They share it over the ghoster net.
They also put a lot of emphasis because they didn't bring back the Overlord, which they should have done, but they didn't.
That would have been cool.
Instead, they brought back
Would have been
Cryptor,
OP.
who was kind of a non-character. Cryptor never really had a personality. He was just kind of a jerk to people. It would have been far more interesting to have him go up against Nia, because at least they had some interactions in Reboot.
Does the Stone Army know that Dareth is also a ninja, though?
I don't know.
So why, because he kind of singles him out, and he's like, I want him. And it's like, what? How did you know that he's not even in his ninja
he remembers
attire?
that Dareth was the one that stopped them.
Okay.
It's probably still
He's
salty.
been on Helmet of Shadows. But anyway, what I'm saying about Cryptor is they kind of tried to give him a character here. They were kept talking about Dr. Julian, oh, he's my father too. But I know they share the programming. He's a clone of Zane, so technically, yeah. But he was built by Cyrus Borg and the Overlord.
Yeah.
And the Overborg. He never even met Julian because he died before rebooted.
Fair.
So I understand the clone thing, but they were really trying to force a connection there when one hadn't ever been established prior, just to give some weight to Cryptor as a character. And that's disregarding the stupid questions like, how is he there if he's a robot who has no soul? But anyway. Other dumb questions I had. Who designed Chin's chair?
Yeah, why would you give
exactly.
a display such a functioning chair?
No, I
know
have
it's
no
for
idea.
comedy, but it makes no sense.
That's
If it was after when he was attacking Nia and Kai, I could understand if he went and made an upgrade or something. But in the actual museum, why can't
Also,
it do stuff?
Why didn't
aren't they
Nia's
writing-
water stop Chin's rocket and then not only stop it, but push it back and then completely reroute it and flip it 180 degrees and send it homing back to Chin?
Water is the answer to everything, apparently.
Except for getting rid of Ghost now, since that sort of done
unless
away.
it comes out of a flower.
Yeah, no, totally. And there's also don't some of the sidekicks ride vehicles as well? Why is that a thing?
Yes, you're right, they do!
How do they have functioning vehicles, and why do they have them at the museum?
I mean, I could see some sort of display, but not a life-size version.
Right, exactly. Or some of the robots too also have. Are they actual robots that are dangerously set to kill? Because they do have jets that come out of them. So
maybe they just turned off a few Nindroids and stuck them on a display.
the killer murder robots that tried to take over everyone, the terrorists like the terrorist robots. They just were like, oh yeah, no, we'll put about this.
Plus, again, we know that they were like the Ninjroids have souls because they were brought back to inhabit these bodies, and when the Ninjroids got defeated, their souls flew away. So
That's true. No, we did see that. Why?
Really
How? So like, does the Departed also include the Cloud too? If Pixel dies, does she get like uploaded to like the Departed Cloud and then come back and can possess people? Could she then possess like a statue of herself so that Zane can have an actual functioning girlfriend? Who knows?
ouch.
Who
Well,
knows?
That's pretty much all of my nitpicking and all of my notes.
Yeah, no, I think I reached the end as well. I feel like
Let's get some final thoughts up in here. Anybody
Cool
go first?
concepts, kind of poor execution.
I like the episode. Like after talking about it and like getting everything, there were some things to nitpick, but I mean there's always this kind of like canon discrepancy within Ninjago. So
Yeah.
all in all, I do feel it was a pretty strong episode that like was a good callback to a bunch of stuff before. I would have loved if like Bionicle had done the same thing. Or, like if there's one year where like they had all of the villains back in like a really major way.
Well,
that'd be cool.
I mean,
they didn't really
they
have
did.
it all too much.
We call it the stars.
No,
Yeah, they didn't get a lot of
yeah, like all the major villains, like one of the Skrull, the Paraka,
Fair.
and Rakshi.
Those were
Great
pretty
villains.
major villains back in the day.
What about you, LJ?
Okay, so I agree. I like the concept. The execution was a little bit haphazard. What I think really should have happened, and I honestly think most of the issues would have been alleviated if they'd done this, is just split it into 2 parts. Like, I get the one special, but you needed to have 2 specials. You need to have this one.
A budget thing.
Well, I know what it is. I know the reason. But they needed to have Day of the Departed and then Night of the Return.
Ooh.
They should have done that. So that way, they get a little bit more time. It's longer, sure. I know there are budgetary constraints. But that way you have more time to pace things out. It's 2 full episodes. Everything gets decently paced and explained. And there isn't such a time crunch. Additionally, it helps marketing. Because that way,
I mean,
you have more material for kids to go, oh, I want to reenact that.
here's the
The
thing.
first
though,
part
like,
would have showcased like Day of the Departed and what that is, and Cole's fading away and his angst about that, and then maybe they could have talked a little bit about the Airjitsu Temple and reminded people what it is.
And then at the end,
okay.
they kickstart things. And the second episode, it pulls
Calm
things
back.
out.
Oh,
some more.
I mean, okay. Here's the thing, though. Isn't this a 43-minute episode? Special.
Yeah, 43.
So isn't it
46.
technically 2 episodes?
Technically,
Yeah, but it would
by
have to be
LJ
like 2.
Yeah.
What?
LJ is
specials.
saying just despite their attempts to double the length, it wasn't enough. It needs to be doubled again.
Right,
I
okay.
haven't agreed
That's what I
with
was
that.
saying.
Doubled
So
again.
it either needs to be 2 full specials or 4 total episodes.
Like Journey to One and like
Yeah.
Hero Factory, which is what Lego commonly does for their
Yeah.
stuff.
Because
I mean-
I never saw pacing issues with Journey to One, or well, not crippling
Yeah, okay.
pacing
Alright, alright.
issues.
Journey
This
to One
had a
was
lot of
better
those
pacing
because
than this,
they needed to juggle a lot of things, and that's just a byproduct of what they had to do. I don't necessarily say no. I think they did an admirable. They did a good job considering those circumstances, but I feel it should have gone a different direction. But-
I liked it for what it did for the franchise. Like, I didn't like it so much for Day of the Departed itself. But I can look forward from here and be like, cool. The next one is actually going to be a full season. That's been confirmed. Hands of Time next season. And we're going to get the Airjitsu Temple as their base, and Cole's no longer a ghost, so the future is bright for Ninjago. They've undone a lot of stupid stuff. But I didn't really find Day of the Departed all that strong, considering their limitations that I'm sure are there. I feel they did do an admirable job. I don't really know how it could have been done better with their budget and the circumstances given. It was a daunting task, really. But there were just too many little nitpicks that bugged me. Too much bad pacing. We didn't even talk about some of the bad fight choreography. Cole's fight against the Ghost. I expect better from Ninjago. Ninjago has a history of amazing fights with people always having dynamic movements, jumping off rooftops, doing crazy parkour moves. Klaus versus Nia is always a standout. Klaus versus Garmadon, the ninja versus Moro, the ninja versus Natakan. Not one dude standing still, lazily blocking like a bunch of ghosts. It wasn't good. It wasn't a good sequence. And a lot of the stuff in this show, in this special rather, kind of gives me those similar vibes. It was cool, but it has been done better. And I've expected better. And that's unfair because this was not a season. This was a 2-episode special, so I can totally understand why it doesn't have to meet that bar necessarily, but I'm judging it for what it is, not what it could have been. And too many contrivances, bad pacing, bad choreography, but solid steps forward that may make the next season even better than the past ones. I mean, like, I do understand what you're saying. I feel like parts of it aren't that bad. Like, I don't feel like, I think the pacing is a little off, but I don't think it's as bad as, I mean, I've seen a lot worse over time. It's bad, too.
I think, like, the thing that would get
cutting in and out of it so fast.
Yeah, but, like, I don't know. Just personally, I don't feel like that was the main draw that I took. My thing was mostly with the choreography. I do like more extended choreography, and I thought the choreography in this one was just okay. I also did want to see more interaction between the villains. I felt like a big draw to having all the villains in one place is that they are able to interact with each other very well. And splitting them off kind of immediately and having them fight separate ninja kind of got us like interactions that we've already had before. And I did want to see like the villains interact that would normally never interact,
Yeah. I'll definitely agree with you.
That was something I wish I could have seen a little more of.
I realized when all those villains were there that I don't actually like them that much. This is a subjective thing, but all of Ninjago's best villains weren't there. Natakan wasn't there. Natakan's crew wasn't there. Klaus wasn't there. The Overlord wasn't there. And the people that were left are, like, non-characters. Cryptor, the Nindroid, who barely ever showed up. Samukai, that dude who barely anyone remembers. Yeah. Chin was a big name, but he was played for comedic value. Pythor was a big name, but he had nothing. Moro's a big name, but he had barely any screen time and was only there as, like, not a Deus Ex Machina, but a plot device. He didn't have any personality. Last time when he died, he was like... He kind of accepted his fate, and he tried to be nice by giving Sensei with the Realm Crystal, but it's not like he underwent a character arc to change and be a good guy. We didn't see any of that.
Maybe he went through a character arc in the Departed Realm.
Maybe. And Kozu, I mean, he's the very definition of a non-character. He's just a brute guy. So I feel like they picked their lesser interesting villains, and the interesting villains weren't given the respect. I wouldn't say respect.
Screen time.
Screen time, but also focus. Pythor, Chin, and Amuro all felt very unfocused in their ambitions and their goals and stuff.
And you know what? That's bad.
That's bad.
Bad.
Very bad.
Bad. Because you're monsters! Oh, also, keep an ear out for this in the future. A little bit of a hint. They're retconning something from the past. Apparently, something happened to Kai and Nia's parents when, at the beginning of the very series, Kai said, well, ever since father passed away. So, guess he didn't pass away. You just mistook not being there right now for he's dead.
They're gonna retcon it to be like, they just assume they passed away. But from the beginning, they were totally intended to have died. They're just changing that up now.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, they faked his death.
Huh? Maybe. I mean, to be fair, we haven't seen it yet. Let's wait until we see it, and then we can complain about the plot hole then.
Fair. But, that's fine.
It was weird, because, like, knowing what we know about Hands of Time and how it's going to focus on Kai and Nia's parents, when they said that line, I was just rolling my eyes like, yep, gotta set up that plot for next year, gotta remind people that exists.
Alright, I'm just thinking, boy, if they think they're dead just because they haven't been around, it'd be terrible if one of them got married to someone and then just went on their honeymoon. Oh, wow. They got married and then they just died. I haven't seen them in 2 weeks.
I thought you were like...
Wow.
I thought, like...
They must be dead.
I thought you were referring to, like, Nia getting married and having, like, her dad not walk her down the aisle. And Dad's like, I was just vacationing off somewhere. You didn't tell me you're getting married? Whoa, I would have totally been there.
I thought you were dead.
It was like, I was just, Just chilling.
I'm looking forward to next season, and I'm looking forward to Ninjago getting a full season. Especially, we should savor this, because we don't actually know if we're going to get any more. Well, I think we do. I think they have confirmed there's going to be more seasons. I'll rephrase. Yeah. We don't know when we're going to get more seasons, because they may well take a break for the Ninjago movie.
But you know what?
I can't imagine them doing that, because the Ninjago movie's all the way in September.
Yeah, September.
Well, I
like
heard from like some...
It's in October.
Yeah, I heard from like some random tweet that like Hands of Time will be in the spring, so they could probably stretch that out from now until the movie.
Isn't that gonna like? Will that be like a reboot or something?
No.
Isn't that like a rumor?
Hands of Time follows the chronology of the story. And then what I'm saying is there likely won't be, that'll be the only TV show material we get for 2017. Because the Summer Wave is going to be the movie.
Well, let's be honest.
Right.
Hands of Time, based on the name alone, would be a really good place to do a reboot of some kind and tie it into the movie.
That's what I was thinking. It's
they
so
go back in
conveniently
time
close.
and reboot the whole
Well, I mean, like that's why
again.
I just feel like it's really close to the movie, which we know has a radically different premise, a time skip of them being in high school and everything. So, like, the fact that they, right before their big movie that's kind of a reboot, they do a thing that has time travel in it. That's what's making me think that. I don't know that for certain.
It is
just like, very convenient.
very likely scenario, but I do recall Tommy Anderson saying something along the lines on Twitter about how, like, future seasons will delve more into the ninja's past.
Oh, thank goodness.
Or whatever.
Their past in high school?
No.
Maybe.
So, but like, okay, so we would like the whole 16 Realms thing. That's separate from the Lego movie, right? Or not? Because it kind of seemed like
separate.
They do have the concept of realms in the Lego movie, but it seems like the Lego movie is having its own cinematic universe and stuff. So,
yep.
Okay, cool. Do we know any of the other realms?
There's Chima.
We know a couple of them in like in Ninjago.
I mean, like, sure. I mean, like, what are these other realms? Are there any?
We don't have like a complete list of all
or?
16 realms. They just the writers said that they just like did that to give them more like creative freedom to work with.
Okay,
or whatever.
All right.
Like set stuff up for the future.
Also, apparently, according to Tommy Anderson, Day of the Departed was the first time the Hagman brothers were not involved.
That explains a lot.
Interesting.
So that does explain 90% of the stuff. It was written by someone called David Shane. So,
well, you know, I mean, maybe we don't know David Shane. Maybe he's a great writer.
I mean, for one guy, he did pretty well.
Shane?
Yeah.
You know, considering the circumstances, I can't really like.
I think he did an admirable job considering the circumstances. I would certainly like to see him come back.
Yeah.
But I also really enjoy the other writers.
Hagman.
More.
Yeah. The ones that are actually in the TV show.
Before we end, I know we're supposed to end because this is going long, but I'm just combing through Tommy Anderson's Twitter looking for interesting answers to our questions. Someone asked him about if the end of Day of the Departed was a whole year after, and he says, it can be read as the same night or years later. I prefer same night. So it's up to interpretation.
Years later makes more sense given the dialogue.
Yeah,
I feel like I like to envision that this is 40 years in the future, and they're all like old and they have kids, and they're just kind of
Yeah, they just look exactly the same for no reason.
Well, because they use the life jitsu to idolize themselves.
I definitely prefer the interpretation that it takes at least a year or two later, but I can see same night, although that'd be kind of ridiculous given that he's telling the story that happened maybe an hour ago.
Yeah. So, hey, guys, you want to hear this great story about how we recorded Ninjago coverage? So we were all in call, right? And Messa was like, hey, do you want to watch Ninjago Day of the Departed?
Are you going to tell us every time we do a coverage?
I mean, technically speaking, that's what you do at the beginning of your episode. You tell us the episode we just watched.
I tell
Well, I mean, I watched it a couple days ago. Or yesterday. It's for the
joke,
audience's sake.
Thank you.
For those who don't know. I mean, yeah, but like you've gotten on his case for the summaries before.
Someone asked Tommy Anderson how Cryptor was a ghost, and Tommy Anderson says, I guess Nindroids have a soul.
No.
I guess.
According
No.
I guess this unit has a soul.
No. Whoa. Hold up.
I guess when writing.
Okay. So you're telling me that we can program souls?
Yes.
Okay.
So are you saying that the ninja just killed a bunch of people in the Ninjaroids whenever they shut down, like they shut down Ninjaroids or whatever. They're literally killing people. It's like shutting down life support.
Transferred the souls of like living people into the Ninjaroids. What if they're like cyborgs?
Does this
just, like,
unit
kill
have a
people?
soul? Yes.
We
yes,
can discuss this later. Let's discuss this on Brickfeed. It's getting long.
Okay, fine. You're right. There's a lot of interesting stuff here, so we will pick up this Ninjago discussion at some point in the next Brickfeed, because there's a lot more to talk about. Tommy Anderson has a lot of interesting stuff on his Twitter, so I would recommend going and following him if you want some insight. Maybe you can even ask him some questions, and maybe he'll answer. So, thank you very much for listening to our Ninjago Day of the Departed episode review. Kind of shaky at parts, but still enjoyable, and we have high hopes for the future of the series and the franchise in general. If you like these episode reviews, do not fret. We will be returning to the world of Nexo Knights after a lengthy hiatus fairly soon, so you can stay tuned for that. But until then, thank you for listening. I'm Messinak.
I'm LJ.
I'm Jonathan.
And I'm Purple.
And farewell, everybody.